You know, Joe Lieberman had this pretty stinging editorial that we read earlier this week in our must-read segment. Yep. I'll just read the final line of what I chose here. If a president ever embraced our worst enemies in this way, he would strengthen them and undermine our most steadfast allies. Is Barack Obama's foreign policy possibly undermining to our safety in the world?
Absolutely not. Look, one of the reasons I responded to my friend Joe is I'm going to respond no matter who the nominee is, because I refuse to sit back like we did in 2000 and 2004. This administration is the worst administration in American foreign policy in modern history, maybe ever. The idea that they are competent to continue to conduct our foreign policy, to make us more secure and make Israel secure, is preposterous. Ever since they've gotten office, the only thing on the march in the Middle East has not been freedom, it's been Iran. Every single thing they've touched has been a near disaster. And the point is, I say to Joe, I walked up to Joe yesterday on the floor, told him I was going to be responding. And my response is, can you imagine Franklin Roosevelt? Can you imagine President Truman? Can you imagine President Kennedy conducting the kind of policy this outfit has? You remember, during the Vietnam War, while China was supplying North Vietnam with weapons killing Americans and help, President Nixon sat down with Mao. We remember, President Reagan sat down with Gorbachev without any freeze on the nuclear weapons system. This president of the United States had his people sit down with Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, a terrorist, and cut a deal. This president, Bush, is writing letters, "Dear Mr. Chairman," to Kim Jong-il, who makes Ahmadinejad look like a much lesser threat. This is ridiculous.
Well, Senator, let me read from your response. This is your response to Joe Lieberman's piece in the Wall Street Journal earlier this week. Your response out today. The Bush-McCain saber-rattling is the most self-defeating policy imaginable. It achieves nothing, but it forces Iranians who despise the regime to rally behind their leaders, and it spurs instability in the Middle East, which adds to the price of oil, which the proceeds going right from the American wallets into Tehran's pockets. The worst nightmare for a regime that thrives on tension with America is an America ready, willing, and able to engage. Since when has talking removed the word no from our vocabulary? It's amazing how little faith George Bush, Joe Lieberman, and John McCain have in themselves and in America. And I add in my question to you, Senator, do you think that the McCain campaign or surrogates are even distorting Barack Obama's positions?
Oh, they are distorting his position. Look, I campaigned against Barack Obama as a competitor. I wasn't much of a competitor, it turned out. I didn't do that well, but I engaged in, I think, 13 debates with Barack Obama. What Barack Obama said was that he would be willing to sit down with the leadership of Iran. He didn't say Ahmadinejad. These guys need to be a lot more sophisticated. The idea that Ahmadinejad would be able to negotiate anything for Iran is not possible. If you looked in the front page of the paper, you may have read it when you hold up the papers earlier this week of the New York Times. Ahmadinejad attacking the clerics. Who controls the security apparatus in Iran? They should understand it is not Ahmadinejad. So this whole notion of this single idea that you will not sit down and talk with anyone in Iran leaves you with one of three options: status quo or war. Or not, maybe getting something done.
Senator Pat Buchanan is with us for